It's mail day! Out of the box comes the smaller box full of all the tools, zip ties, wrenches, power cords, SD cards, and all the other little things you need to get the printer running. Okay, this is a pretty minor thing, but one of my favorite parts about this printer is the little miniature spool of filament that it comes with. I mean, how cute is that? Next thing up is the power box. Now this thing is pretty beefy. It's going to take up a large portion of space and it's got some weight to it, but I've got a trick to show you guys on how to optimize your space and make sure that this thing isn't taking up room that could be used for any other number of things. And finally out of the box is the double Z-axis frame of the entire printer. Now one of the coolest things about the CR-10 is that it comes fully built like this. The only assembly that you have to do is screw the frame into the base and attach the two stabilizing dowels. But other than that, everything is already attached. So you've got the extruder already on the axes, you have the tubing already implanted, and I mean, it's a super quick setup. So to any beginners out there, this printer is one of the best if you're just looking for something that's quick, easy to set up, and you can get printing right away with. Okay, so the first step in the setup process is going to be screwing in the 4 M25 bolts from the base into the actual frame to connect the whole printer. Now, since attaching the frame to the base of the printer requires you to get underneath some of these components, it's usually best to find a good open space to do this so that you don't have to worry about bumping into anything else that you might have lying around. So the easiest way to go about attaching the frame to the base is going to be to set the frame on top and then move the base right out sort of over the edge of a table or any other surface that you're on, so that you can get underneath and screw the pieces together. That way you don't have to worry about damaging a cord or the extruder if you had to turn one of the pieces onto its side. This way you get directly underneath and everything still stays in place without having to orient in some awkward direction. There are 4 screws in total that hold the base and the frame together, but you'll notice I started with 1 screw on either end of the printer before securing the 2 central ones. That way I know that everything is level and perfectly parallel before screwing 2 in on one side only to find out that the other side is crooked. Okay, with the frame and the base attached to one another, now we can work on putting on the support dowels, and these things extend from the top of the frame down to the front of the base and keep everything sturdy while prints are going. My one big complaint about this printer is definitely these dowels. They thread together with a simple screw like this. It's just not a great system. You have to screw them in pretty much equally on both sides at the same time, or else one will be further screwed in than the other, so you just have to push them together sort of at the same rate like this. It's a small thing, it's not a huge deal, but it's just weird. I feel like there would have been a better way to attach these, but yeah. Okay, with the support beams properly connected to one another, now we can pop off these little plastic covers on the corners of the printer, and that's going to allow us to slide in the support mechanism and create a whole stable frame. Okay, so now we're going to take a nut and bolt and kind of screw those into one another, just like that. Again, there's no clear distance in the instructions about how far you need to go. It's kind of just by feel. You have to figure it out once it's on the printer. And then that's going to go on the end of the dowel, and once that's screwed in, we can attach that to the frame of the printer. Okay, once that screws in, you're going to take another screw and thread it through the top and connect that to this little L bracket, and this is how we're going to mount it onto the frame of the printer itself. Alright, so once those have been attached in both top corners of the printer, now we're going to move down to the bottom corners and attach those in exactly the same way. It's also worth noting at this point that the printer comes with two small little extra clips with these holes in them, and these go on the bottom corners here and allow you to screw through the hole and keep that protective cover on the corner. Now that the frame is completely built, this is usually the point at which you would install the filament spool holder on top of the control box. But I've actually got a different way for attaching the filament spool to the rest of the printer, so we're going to leave these two pieces unconnected for now and move on to the next step. The next step is a crucial one, and that is attaching the Z limit switch to the Z-axis on your printer. Now this thing is what's going to ensure that your nozzle never pushes down too far into your bed and knows exactly what height it's at all times. Alright, so now the printer itself is complete. The last things to do are just hook it up to the control box to get power running to it, and then get the filament spools attached and we can start printing. Okay, all the cords are hooked up between the power box and the printer. I will say the diagram on the instruction manual does not match the actual ports that are on the back here. It's pretty intuitive because all the plugins are different sizes, so you can piece together pretty quickly which connection goes where. It's just weird that it's not the same diagram as it is in real life. But in any event, the printer's ready to go, so we're going to move it back over to the main deck of printers and get it plugged in and get it printing. And then once the control box is hooked up, you just want to make sure that you're on the right voltage. So there's this little red switch down in here, and you can use a pair of pliers or something to switch it to the right number of volts depending on where you're at. So for me it's 115, but it might be different. And then finally you just need to attach all the axis connectors so that they can properly move. And there's the printer fully set up and just about ready to go. And the last thing we have to do is attach the filament spool holder. So using the spool mount on top of the control box is definitely an option. If this is going to be your only printer, definitely go for that. It's sturdy, it's what it's meant to be used for, so definitely use it. Super easy to set up. If, however, you want more space because the control box is going to take up a good chunk of room next to your printer, you can do what I did, which is mount the spool overhead. So it eliminates the need to have the control box next to the printer. Instead, I've got them underneath, and then that allows me to have printers right next to each other, saving a lot of space, and then the filament just feeds directly down from the spool, down in a little line into the extruder, and it works super well. So now I can have a whole lineup of printers, don't have to worry about overcrowding, and it's super efficient. Alright, and just like that, the printer's ready to go. So you can put away the tools, save all the spare parts that it comes with, and get printing. Alright, so there we have it. 4 CR-10v2s plus a little Ender 3 Pro over there in the corner. This printer is really perfect for anybody looking to get into 3D printing, anybody who's already 3D printing. It's got a great build plate, super easy to use, super quick setup, a few minor design flaws like I showed you guys with the triangle supports, but I mean, that's nothing compared to some other printers out there. So if you guys are interested in 3D printing yourselves, make sure to check out the CR-10v2. It is a sweet, sweet printer, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.